Today I'll be showing you how to do the rapid fire mod to your Xbox 360 wireless controller. I don't know if this works for a wired controller, but you'll be able to find out is if you open it with a regular Phillips screwdriver, see if there's a resistor. I'll show you what that is in a second, but first I'll show you all the things you'll be needing for the wireless mod. You'll be needing a Torx 8 or 9 screwdriver. I prefer 9 because it fits. And you'll also, if you don't have one of these, buy it online from Radio Shack with the security hole, so that way it'll fit into the screws. Mine doesn't have the security hole in the middle, it's just flat. So if you have a regular Torx 8 screwdriver like me, you'd use a small Phillips flathead screwdriver, just pop them open, the things in the middle. You'll know if your screwdriver works is if you can't unscrew it with a Torx 8, Torx 9, so T9. Torx D9, whatever you want to call it. You'll also be needing a solder. Yeah, you will. So you will be soldering stuff. And a soldering iron and the solder. Any solder works that your soldering iron can melt. It doesn't have to be this small, it's just this came with my soldering iron, so I just used it. And you'll be needing a momentary push button, 2 prongs. I recommend 2 prongs anyways. And yeah, just push it down and works. Some wire. I chose ribbon wire because it is negative and positive, and you can easily split these apart because you will have to. And yeah, this was 24 gauge. I think anything up to 30 gauge works. I don't know if anything lower works. You can go ahead and test it if you want. And make sure you test this before soldering anything. You can test it, so no need to worry. Alright, so, and 2 things you'd want to have that are optional is Scotch tape. So that way you can tape the buttons to the controller when you open it. Right here, or they just spill out everywhere. It's really annoying. And you'll want a cereal bowl, or some bowl to hold all your nails in. And yes, I already unscrewed each nail so that way it doesn't waste time in the video. And something to cut your wires with. I have sharp scissors here. Works. So first things first. Let's open up this. Oh yeah, I gotta show you where the screws are. It might be helpful. There's one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, and there's one behind the barcode in here. This is the most unnoticeable one. It's right in here. You open up the battery pack, scrape out the barcode with the flathead that you have, the flathead screwdriver, and then unscrew it. It's pretty simple. So after you have that down, let's just tape it. It's not that difficult. So I'm just taping the buttons to the controller. Nothing magical, it's just really helpful. It's regular Scotch tape. Alright, so after you do that, just lift up the top. And you'll notice you got some rumble packs right here. These can be cut off in case you solder, in the case the hole you made for your button, if you soldered iron through it and these don't fit, you can just cut it off. They're not needed. Unless you really want to feel the rumble. You can pull off this thing right here. It's just for the buttons. Let's see, I have the D21. You'll be able to know what kind of control you have. I'll have a picture up here, but the soldering points are right in, I don't know if you can see this, but there are 3 prongs right here. It's the middle one. And I'll have a picture on my website, so be sure to visit that. You'll see something called a D21 or D1 in the upper left hand corner. If it's D1, then the other soldering point for the other wire would be right under the LED light. If you have D21, then you got somewhere down here in this area. Make sure you have this resistor, this huge thing sticking out. A couple things I recommend before you start soldering is to pull off these. It can be easily put back on. And pull off anything else like that. So these can easily be disassembled and reassembled. So before we get started, let's make the button. So let's take our wire. I chose ribbon wire. And right now I'm just going to make a test run, so it's not going to be perfect. Just make sure this controller works. cut the wire. And now to separate ribbon wire, yes, you have to have 2 wires that are separated, not just one double-sided wire. Just cut it a little bit, spread it apart. Now you got to expose both ends. Don't just solder these right onto it, it won't work. So I'll pause it while I expose the wires. Alright, I just exposed my 2 wires. See, just the ends of both of them. Here's the other ends. The wires are just exposed. You can make them smaller than this, but this is just for the video right now. You can make them the perfect size so it fits in your controller and everything. So yeah. Let's see, where's my push button? Here it is. So you take the push button, interior push button, take one of the exposed wires, shove it through one of the holes in the prongs, and you can just kind of wrap it around there. You can also solder this into there, it's just to make sure it stays in. If you're good at soldering, that's of course. But with these kind of push buttons, don't touch this rubber part, or also just rip off. And it has happened. So, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I'm not responsible for anything that happens to your controller or your Xbox Live accounts. If your controller breaks, not my fault. If it doesn't work, it's not my fault. And if you get banned from Xbox Live, it's not my fault. It's just how responsible you are when you're doing this. And yes, I've done this to 3 controllers. One of them I broke. It's kind of sad, but apparently I soldered, like, excess solder got all around here, and the controller just stopped working. So keep that in mind if you're really wanting to do this and you have like no time to do it or something like that, like you just feel like doing it. If you're low on cash and you're trying to save money from buying one on eBay for like 90 bucks, I don't really recommend trying to do this. Just buy the $90 ones or something from eBay. So yeah, I'm just taking the other wire, sticking it through, wrapping it around so that way this button works. Sorry about that. So yeah, I just wrapped them around here. You can put Scotch tape in between them to make sure they don't touch, so that way the mod isn't going off at all times. This can be pretty annoying. So after you made this, just go to part 2 to see how it works and for other safety tips and where I recommend drilling the hole. Actually, I can just tell you that right now, but you can either solder a hole through it, but it'll get pretty messy and you'll have to like melt off all the plastic, or you can just drill a hole through it with a power drill. And usually best spot is just to pull up the chip. The chip comes off pretty easily. Just take off this guard down here and the guard right above it, and the chip should just pop right up. Hold on one moment. There you go. And then you can just play around with this shell, see how the chip's up. Like drill it like right around there. Try to make sure it doesn't get into this rubber, the rumble pack. So yeah, just go to part 2 and I'll show you how it works and where exactly to push it. Actually, no, just look at the image on the website for where to push it. So yeah, I'll see you in part 2 if you're still interested.